So in the first story in stage 24, we come across these really weird looking words. Cum transeset, cum descendiset, and cum ad pontem venisset. So what are these? These are obviously verbs, but not like any other verbs we've seen before. So far in Latin, we have learned two moods of Latin verbs. There are imperatives like labora, dormite, noli festinate, nolite ridere. And these are also called, more commonly, commands. And we've also learned about the indicative mood, which you might not have learned the official term for this, but these are basically all the other verbs we have ever learned. Sum, ambulabas, tenebo, quaesiuit, cupiveram. Indicatives indicate actions or events, right? Your basic verb. But there is a third mood in Latin called the subjunctive that we're going to be working with very closely in the next few chapters. And although subjunctive verbs can exist by themselves, they're most often used in a specific type of clause or construction. In other words, there are certain types of Latin sentences that require a subjunctive verb. So if you think about it, subjunctives are kind of like the special ops forces of verbs. When an indicative verb just can't get the job done, we need a subjunctive. First example of when we need a subjunctive that we're going to talk about is when the word cum, which you've learned as meaning with, but occasionally it can mean when if it's next to a subjunctive verb. So if cum means when and is found at the beginning of a clause, for example, cum ad pontem venisset, equus transire nolebat. When they had arrived at the bridge, the horse did not want to cross. Cum modestus descendiset, equus statim transit. When Modestus had dismounted, the horse crossed at once. Modestus, cum in Britannia militaret, multas puellas amabat. Modestus, when he was soldiering in Britain, loved many girls. That Modestus. Cum custodes dormirent, captivi e carcere e fugerant. When the guards were sleeping, the captives fled from the prison. So all these verbs in bold here are in the subjunctive mood. And they're subjunctive because these cum clauses require a subjunctive mood verb. Now the good news is, so far there's no difference in translation, only in formation, right? So in English we would translate it exactly the same way. There's nothing special about it. But wait, as I said, I thought cum meant with. Cum means when if it's in its own clause with a verb, and cum means with if there's an ablative noun next to it. So it's pretty easy to tell them apart. So today we're going to learn how to form subjunctives in the imperfect and pluperfect tense. So first off, the pluperfect subjunctive formula. It's very easy. You take the perfect stem, you add isse, plus your present tense endings. So those would be mst, mus, tis, nt. So here are some examples. Cum ancilla cenam porta viset, edere coepimus. So take a minute and pause this video and try to translate that. Did you try? Okay, it would be translated as, when the girl had carried the dinner, we began to eat. And this next one, sorores cum culinam intravescent, pocula sordida lavare noluerant. The sisters, when they had entered the kitchen, did not want to wash the dirty dishes. All right, so you can see the formation of the pluperfect subjunctive here. It's your perfect stem, portau, plus isse, plus t. Here, intrau, isse, nt. Now for the imperfect subjunctive, and I love the imperfect subjunctive because it is literally the easiest verb form in Latin. All it is the present infinitive plus the ending. You don't have to take off the re, you don't have to do anything to it except add the ending. And the endings are, of course, mst, mus, tis, nt. It's as simple as that. Right? So for example, you would take portare, and if you wanted it to be the third person singular, you would say portaret. Dormire would become dormiret. Esse, esset. Now try vele and trahere on your own. Okay, so let's try some sentences with the imperfect subjunctive. Cum custodes dormirent, captivi e carcere e fugerunt. So take a minute and try to translate that on your own. Did you try? Okay, so the translation would be, when the guards were sleeping, the captives fled from the prison. And another example, cum hospites caenam consumerunt, for cubiculum intravit. Okay, so take a minute to translate this one. When the guests were consuming the meal, the thief entered the bedroom. Well, that's an ominous sentence. All right, so let's give it a try. So take a minute and on your notes, you might want to pause the video for this, copy out this chart here, okay? And fill in the blank spaces. So in this column here, you have the imperfect indicative. That's your regular imperfect that you've known and loved. So amabat. In this column, you have the imperfect subjunctive, amaret in this case. In here, you have the pluperfect indicative, amaverat. And here, our new form, the pluperfect subjunctive, amaviset. And you can see these various forms here that are missing their counterparts in the other columns. So take a minute if you need to, pause the video, and complete this chart. So to finish off, go to the story in Itinerary on page 66 of your textbook and try to find 4 pluperfect subjunctives and translate each of them. And once you've done that, you can complete your notes on the imperfect and pluperfect subjunctives. Thank you.